Testing, 1, 2, 3. Am I coming through? Am I live? Am I live?
Move the thing. Yes, we are.
You know you can tell whether or not I'm coming through your headphones.
I can't hear you.
You could have told me that. Is that better?
Maybe.
I can hear you.
Yep. I can hear everyone.
Okay, good.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Sorry I'm late. Hello everyone, welcome to Hyperfixation of the Week, where we're letting the cat out of the bag.
And the dog.
And the bird.
And the snakes. They're somewhere, don't worry about it.
And the cow. I'm sorry, we only have one.
The one cow.
Only one cow.
The Minecraft's still playing.
Oh,
We're not having Minecraft music play as we talk.
Oh, if only.
oh Allium, I wish you would cooperate.
We should talk about Minecraft some other day.
Someday.
Eventually. Well, what are we talking about, Victoria?
Well, according to you, mythology.
Well, that's what we told you.
Actually, oh
That's
my
what we told
God.
you.
Is this the Broadway episode?
So mythology was a myth.
Is this the Broadway episode?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Hi, welcome to
Guys,
Hyperfixation of the
Welcome
Week,
to-
everyone.
Welcome to Hyperfixation of the Week. The show has just begun.
Where we have a theater kid.
A theater kid.
You're a techie.
I'm a theater kid at heart.
And someone.
And I've seen maybe 2 plays in my entire life.
And is one of them Hamilton?
No.
I would
It
be
was Mary
fi-
Poppins when I was like 5.
That's
Duh.
that's worse.
Dog, I'd be a theater kid if I could sing.
Anyone can sing.
I cannot sing, but I can act, which is why I was the star of the show until we only did musicals.
I love fall plays so much.
I was actually, unironically, I used to do musical theater.
Yeah,
But
you
I was
sing.
like 7.
Yeah, no, I was the star until we started having to be able to sing, and then all of a sudden I started failing auditions. Probably because I can't sing in front of people.
Yeah, that's it. Trust me, I've heard you sing. You're a good singer.
Really?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone can sing, just like in Ratatouille, how anyone can cook. Speaking of Ratatouille, did you know there's a Ratatouille musical?
Speaking of Ratatouille, did you know that to my online friend page, you guys know Paige, the
Yeah.
audience doesn't, because we don't share the real names of people in our lives, we always give them code names that are loosely based on their real names, and I have Ankela for my studio critic, and I call her Ego in our personal DM correspondence,
Oh my god.
because she reminds me of Anton Ego. My mother is calling me. This is crazy.
Wait, if
My
you
mother
said-
missed the whole fake out of faking out Victoria. And the audience as well. But also, yes, there is a Ratatouille musical. So what happened was it started as a bit on TikTok where people just like went, so if there's a Ratatouille musical, this is my audition song for this. And then it started doing it. And then it was also, mind you, during the COVID pandemic.
Yep.
Oh,
So
I
then
think
what
I remember seeing this.
I watched it. Then what happened was a bunch of Broadway actors went, what if we actually did it?
I'm gonna have
So
to
then
edit
there's-
this audio so bad.
So then there's a lot of
Sorry.
people like
The gain has been wacky.
someone maybe like Kevin Chamberlain,
Who is that?
Bertrand
Exactly.
from Jessie,
Who?
You're still losing her.
the butler from Jessie.
I never watched Jesse.
Shame on you. But yeah, he's
I
also
was
a
a
big.
Nickelodeon kid.
He was a big
was a
Broadway
Nigel
star.
kid,
If
and
you
then
ever
I
know the
know.
Addams Family music, the Addams Family and the Addams Family musical.
Turn your game down.
Yes, there's a musical for the Addams Family.
And
he was the
our
original
high
Uncle
school
Fester.
Did that for my final show.
When I was in 7th grade, I was Pugsley in community theater.
Senior year spring show, I was not an authority figure because I submitted the form to apply a day late. I was a senior member and was probably prospected to be a stage or wing manager, and I didn't get it because I submitted the form a day late and they picked a sophomore.
That's stupid. The way you get stage manager at my school is literally yes, like the director really trusts this girl called Allison. We love her. We love Allison. She's known the director for years since she did community theater that he worked at, and she was stage manager, and she was really good at her job.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Our Nepo babies, I don't have time
Careful,
to get...
you're messing with the waveform when you do that.
That's a funky looking waveform.
Oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry, my dear audience, but the difference is that I don't have the time to get into our theater department drama. What I do have time to get into is how we got into musical theater and musicals to begin with. Are we going to cover just theater, or are we going to cover, like, musicals in movies and shows as well?
Anything.
Okay, where did you start?
Oh, simple. My mother. My mother is a theater person. She raised me on theater. Let's see. I remember listening to the Wicked soundtrack as she told us the story of the show as we went down to Ocean City. I remember when I was very young, she's a director at her high school. I helped out backstage at High School Musical. I was like a young child. I was not helping. I was just there. Let's see. I did it in first musical I was ever in was in middle school. I do theater a lot. I like theater.
I also like theater. I got into like musical medium. Why is our waveform so low? Are we okay?
Yeah, the audio isn't that bad. Either way, Victoria can mess with it.
I will mess with it.
Well, fix it in post is an exquisite motto to have.
I do also have like 6 episodes to edit.
You
Yeah.
have not as much work ahead of you as I do.
That is true.
You poor architecture
It's
student.
due at
However, when you
6.
finish your presentations, you please, for the love of God, write descriptions.
Not when. If, my friend. If I finish my presentations. Anyways, regardless, this is a stress-free zone. This is my only mental health break. So, I started consuming musical-adjacent content with the funniest possible option, which is, first of all, I was a little kid who watched TV shows, so I inevitably was exposed to musical-themed shows or musical episodes. But the first time I really got into, like, a show that used music as a storytelling medium, I guess technically 6 words, but we usually abbreviate it to 3 words for you. My Little Pony.
Oh.
Friendship is magic.
Oh, how is this relevant?
It's an incredibly musical show.
Yeah.
I know, but
Half of their storytelling is done through music. I had so much of that soundtrack memorized, and
Okay,
that
same.
eventually transitioned into my Broadway phase in middle school, early high school.
okay,
Oh,
I can
wait.
see the link.
What musical started your Broadway phase?
So it started... I'm not going to look at you when I say this. So it started with Be More Chill.
Oh.
And then it transitioned into the classic pipeline from Be More Chill to Dear Evan Hansen.
Ooh.
And then we got into Heathers.
Okay,
we got
based.
Mean Girls. We
Good.
got Hamilton. Then my Wicked obsession started.
I saw Wicked.
I saw Wicked. Where'd you see Wicked? Because
Philly.
I don't care where you saw it. I can flex on you. 16th birthday gift. Broadway. Front row. I kept a feather.
Okay, but you
A
want
f-
to.
a feather fell off a costume and I still have it.
Okay, but also you want to be like 2 or 3 rows back, ideal.
I don't care. There are pictures of me looking up with all the fascination in the world, and they're the best pictures we have.
Okay, here's my Broadway flex. So Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It
Oh.
originally was a 2-part show. You saw it
Yes.
once, and then you left. There's a few. Either you saw it on a different day, or if it was Saturday, you saw it on a different day. Now it's not that. They shortened a lot of it, cut out a lot.
You saw the original 2-parter.
Yes, I did.
You lucky ducky.
I also have an autograph from a Broadway performer,
Very nice.
a non-binary actor who played Joe in one of my favorite musicals, Jagged Little Pill. That actor was non-binary, playing a non-binary character, which is not a thing in musical theater, really.
No.
It's sad.
I feel like we should probably save the negative side of Broadway for, like, the middle half hour.
There's a
The middle half hour.
We spend 15 minutes gushing,
yeah.
30 minutes complaining, 15 minutes gushing.
Okay, so mutually we both agree we can probably do if you put it on, we can probably do the Hamilton soundtrack by memory.
Dun, 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 dun,
Ba-na-na-na.
That's a bastard.
No, we're not
Careful,
doing the Family Guy.
Because
bit.
remember, I
Orphan.
upload these.
Son of a... And that is
It's
where
on
we stop.
YouTube.
I know. Be careful. I upload these. I can still get copyright struck.
Oh yeah, we can.
Be careful.
I'm
I'm more likely to get copyright claim.
We are
I don't-
honored that you think our singing is that good.
No, I'm
that
saying
Lin-Manuel
because I
Miranda-
thought you guys were gonna go ahead and actually put it on.
No, we were going to acapella that.
That is fine.
From beginning to end, if we could.
But that
we
is
could.
future warning for you guys.
I could.
Future warning for you guys. Be careful with major songs.
So what was that about you wanting to put
Popular.
with all the popular? That's a song from Wicked, which
Wanting
it's
to put
my
what?
favorite.
which is the Wicked, which is the
Yeah.
show.
Oh my god, my mom used to play that in the
Okay.
car.
I love
Hear me
Wicked.
all
out.
the time.
So wait, let's explain what Wicked is. So Wicked is a show.
Is about lesbians.
No,
Yes,
they're best friends.
they should have kissed.
Maybe. Okay, but Wicked is a
Tension.
show where it's the story of the Wizard of Oz. Except, well,
From the Wicked Witch's perspective.
except is she so wicked?
Is she wicked?
No. Because who's the villain?
She's the victim of racism.
And who's the villain?
the wizard.
The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz.
Is the villain.
The Wizard of Oz.
I
was
always
the
had a
villain.
bad vibe from him in the first
The
place.
real villain was systematic
Systematic
racism.
Yeah, like the whole
Systematic.
get rid of all the talking animals.
Oh my god, the get rid of all the talking animals was
Yeah, that's a whole bit. One of her
yeah.
teachers was a goat, and people just started people got really,
Racist.
were really racist to him.
Also-
Musicals can be really deep.
Hear me out. Wicked soundtrack. What is this feeling? The first 45 seconds sent me on a gay spiral for a week.
Loathing, pure
No.
unadulterated
The bit
loathing.
before that, where they're leaning into an almost tension thing, where it's what is this feeling? So sudden and new. Felt it the moment that I laid eyes on you. My pulse is rushing. My face
So
is
was that an
flushing.
awakening?
It wasn't an awakening, but it was a realization. Oh my God, women!
Oh my God, Adina
Idina
Menzel and Christian
Menzel.
Chenoweth.
Idina Menzel.
Also, you recognize that name, don't you? Do you know why?
Adina Menzel is
Elsa.
Is Elsa.
One of the most talented Broadway performers ever.
My queen.
Fun fact. Olaf. Josh Gad. Where do I know that name from?
Oh my God, I love Josh
Book
Gad.
of Mormon.
Oh,
A show written by, it is a Tony Award winning, which is the Broadway version of the Oscars.
Tony Award-winning comedy
Written
by
Trey Stone and Matt Parker. And hey, George, what are they known for? I think it's a show, Colorado, about some children. Oh, South Park.
gosh, that
And it's a musical.
and it's a musical about Mormons.
Mormons. And all the information is correct. Every single bit of information they say about the Mormon religion is correct. Including the fact
The
that
turn it
yes, Turn It Off, which is in one of the characters, Elder McKinley, the character I want to play, he's a gay man. Except no, turn it off like a light switch to show click. It's a cute little Mormon trick. We do it all the time when you're feeling certain feelings and you don't know why. Just turn it off.
Wait, real quick.
Or-
Before we move on, can I just explain my very limited background with
Oh yeah, we
theater
always do
and
this. When
stuff?
one person
Yep.
is ignorant, we always have them explain their background knowledge.
So basically, like I mentioned, I did musical theater briefly. We were supposed to perform some stuff from Hairspray.
Ooh.
It got canceled because every single person in the class, or most of the people in the class, weren't going to be there on the day that the recital for the music school was scheduled.
Aw.
So I just never got to do it.
Okay, please tell me you had a diverse cast for Hairspray.
We had a bunch of random people. This was a 7-year-old's musical theater class.
I
Stop
really
tugging at
hope
your
it was
collar.
not White Spray. Because in theater, there are certain shows that you don't do. For example, In the Heights, can't do it without a diverse cast. Because then you're doing In the Whites.
Anything by Lin-Manuel Miranda, you need a diverse cast.
Let's
on
see.
hand. Because that's the
Hairspray-
point of his shows. I know
Yeah.
he's basically cringe culture's mascot at this point, but you also have to admit that the point of his shows is to bring diversity into an objectively very white art form.
Yes.
I will say, I don't think it was particularly diverse, but for a very different reason than you think. It was not a lot of white kids.
Okay, that's better.
okay.
That is better.
Because the problem with musical theater is it's a little overly white.
And one of the biggest problems about Hairspray specifically, there's a whole song that starts off with the phrase, "I can't see why people look at me and only see the color of my face." The biggest plot in Hairspray is segregation
Yes.
in the 1960s.
yeah, there are some shows
I know
you-
this. I watched the movie several times.
I played Corny Collins. I was in it.
It's in Hamilton, there's one white guy, and he's the king of England.
No, wait. So it's
There's a couple.
there's the ensemble. The ensemble.
The ensemble
doesn't
has some
matter.
white people. Doesn't matter.
The main characters who have lines are James Reynolds, Samuel Seabury, and Charles Lee, who are the same actor.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, James Reynolds actually was not white in the original production. And the King. It is always people who are British. It is, if you actually pay attention, it's always people who are more British aligned or less heroic characters.
It's almost like the whole message of Hamilton is that the big takeaway, at least for Lin-Manuel Miranda, is that the story of Alexander Hamilton rising from nothing is parallel to how people as members of racial minorities in America today must rise up from some point lower than everyone else.
Oh yeah, what's that line that he says specifically during the Battle of Yorktown between Lafayette, the Frenchman, and Alexander Hamilton, the Caribbean immigrant?
We're immigrants.
We get the job done.
That's the whole... It's not the point of the show. The point of the show is to make history fun with rap. The impetus of the show is what I just said, that Hamilton's story is parallel to a modern rapper story or a modern coming up from nothing kind of story, and that parallels to a lot of minorities.
As I said, Broadway is very deep. Like one of my favorite shows, Rent, which, fun fact, Idina Menzel, she was in that show.
Nice.
Rent is the story of a few friends living the AIDS epidemic.
Mm-hmm. And you want to know something really sad? The creator of Rent,
Jonathan Larson. Watch Tick Tick Boom if you ever want to see his story. It's starring Andrew Garfield.
Oh my
it's
God,
a
it's
movie musical on
amazing.
Netflix. Incredible. You get to see Andrew Garfield, and he's incredible. But Jonathan Larson, a struggling Broadway writer for years. He tried to write for years. His entire dream growing up was Broadway.
mm-hmm. Rent was the big break.
Rent was his big break. His first show to ever make it to proper Broadway. And the night before Rent opened, Jonathan Larson died.
From complications. Was it from complications due to AIDS?
I thought it was something to do with his heart. I know one of his friends had AIDS.
Yes, AIDS was like a big thing.
Yes,
like,
I don't know if
integrated
he
into his
had it
life.
specifically.
I'm pretty sure one of us can look it up.
But yes, and now Rent is one of the Rent changed Broadway forever.
Yes.
Without Rent, we wouldn't have shows like Jagged Little Pill, Rock of Ages. We wouldn't have Hamilton-style
Rock
shows.
of Ages. Over this summer, I went to like a community theater thing that was doing Rock of Ages.
Rock of Ages is another type of musical that is referred to as a jukebox musical.
I love
It was
jukeboxes.
When you hear a musical, you think of all original songs. No,
Except
a jukebox
jukeboxes.
musical is a musical that takes an artist's discography and uses that to write musicals. It can be many artists, like
Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge, one of my favorites, takes a lot of songs from the movie as well as some songs that we grew up with, like Shut Up and Dance is in the musical.
Yes.
And it's very well done. But
Here's a question. Here's a quick question.
yeah,
Would you consider the musicals that are pulled completely from concept albums to be jukebox musicals, concept album musicals, or just original?
which musicals?
Like, Jagged Little Pill wasn't originally a musical. It was originally an album by Alanis Morissette.
It is a jukebox musical, but also it has 2 songs that were written specifically for the musical, fun fact.
Okay, because I would also like to bring in, I know you've, like, shouted at me for bringing this up before, but the American Idiot musical does not... I've seen it live. It doesn't just use the American Idiot album. It uses other Green Day songs.
Oh
which
yeah,
means
Jagged Little Pill
technically-
uses some songs that aren't in that Jagged Little Pill album.
Yeah.
But so my thing on jukebox musicals is because in Broadway currently there's a big trend going on where instead of writing a musical, people will just take an artist's discography and then tell the artist's life story. Start out with a very good musical that I love, Jersey Boys, which tells the story
That's
of
very good.
Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. But then it became
God, I love them.
Ain't Too Proud, Life and Times Temptations, also very good. Then it started showing up more and more. MJ, Tina. If you can think of an artist.
They probably did it.
Yeah, there's one that I think is so stupid, which is currently A Beautiful Noise. Guess what artist's music they used? Do you know?
Oh, actually.
Neil Diamond. Sweet Caroline.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So there's a Tony performance where the guy playing Neil Diamond is on stage at the Tony Awards singing Sweet Caroline, and you watch as a, like, the Oscars room, essentially, that big room full of Broadway actors, Broadway producers,
Goes bum, bum,
some of the
bum.
most talented singers you'll ever see. Lin-Manuel Miranda was in that audience, and you hear them all just go, ba, ba, ba.
Good sounds.
And it kinda was good.
Feel so
But then there's other
good.
musicals where, like, there's another type of musicals, which are musicals based on movies. You mentioned Mean Girls, which is,
And Heathers.
Mean Girls specifically, is one of the best done ones, because what happened was, instead of a lot of the ones where they just get the rights, Tina Fey was a producer. Tina Fey helped to make it. They will take the movie, they'll do some edits, they will sometimes change the story a little bit to fit things, except for Beetlejuice, where they threw it out the window and created something incredible.
Beetlejuice is a. Can we reserve a second here for musicals based on movies?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I would like to talk about Heathers.
We do that, but also I want to gush about Alex Brightman real quick, the original voice of Beetlejuice, because here's a trick that he did, which I can do very briefly.
You might want to back up from the mic, it's a little loud.
Yeah, it's a very impressive trick, and if you do it too much or do it wrong, it messes up your voice. Because you see, Beetlejuice talks like this. So Alex Brightman, for 8 shows a week, 8 2-hour shows a week, would sing the entire show, talk the entire show, doing this. And if I can't make it through a single song doing that. He is so talented and so incredible. I like gushing about that. But yeah, they will take musicals and movies and turn them into a musical and add songs to them. And they can be very good. Like, Beetlejuice is a very good one. Heathers, Mean Girls. Mean Girls, actually, fun fact, they made a movie based on the musical, based on the movie.
I noticed.
Released in January, and I'm gonna see it.
I fear it may not be as good as we hope.
I don't care.
It's like the repeated distortion.
Like Dear Evan Hansen from the Dear Evan Hansen movie, which
Save it for later.
We could have a whole episode on the follies of that movie. So you want to talk about Heathers, one of my favorite shows.
Here is my thing about Heathers. Heathers as the original movie is a fascinating story that I would love to write an essay about sometime. When I want to write an essay about a piece of media, that's when you know I'm in too deep. It is such a fascinating story of superficial material culture and the creation of a fad around something that should never be a fad. I don't know, mental illness and suicide and also shooting up a school. That's a long story. But here's the thing. The transition to musical made it more of a spectacle in the best possible way, because the way that the original Heather story was told was sort of a satire and a mockery of the teen movies at the time.
And also, the sort of unhinged character, JD, had no character depth. He felt unhinged for the sake of being unhinged.
Yes. It was a satire on, the stereotypical John Hughes high school movie, but especially playing off of the real harmfulness of the bad boy trope and how sincerely harmful someone like that can actually be in real life.
So what did they do with JD in the actual musical? See, they gave him depth. They made him human. In the song Freeze Your Brain, JD is taking Veronica to 7-Eleven going, yeah, my dad moves me around a lot because he's in the military, so I don't have any sanctuary except one place. Anywhere I go, there's a 7-Eleven. And you know what I do? I go get a Slurpee, and I chug it till I get brain freeze.
I have two emotions. Can I just continue?
Because two important lines of that song that I want to bring up.
Over here.
Oh no, give me a second. 2 important lines. Who needs cocaine and don't open a vein? Freeze your brain.
It is an alternative to
less healthy practices.
I know. I was making a joke about the brain freeze because if you've noticed, every single time I eat ice cream, I get a brain freeze.
Yes.
Here is my. Can I just hyperfixate
go ahead.
for a second? That's the name of the show. That's the point. I have qualms and praise for the musical adaptation for that exact reason. I think that giving him depth unfortunately defeats the purpose. That he is meant to be a satire of a stereotype of a generic figure, that he's not meant to, what's the word? He's not meant to have a redeeming quality. He's meant to just be the worst possible example and show how he would interact with the story. On the other hand, giving him depth and giving him a reason to be sympathized with brings up part of the original problem that the original movie was trying to acknowledge, which was the glorification of a bad person and bad, harmful actions. Because once you give him something to be sympathetic towards, that is when the real danger of the media they're criticizing comes in, is the sympathy for a very, 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 very bad person. And all of this comes full circle to say that I hate to criticize one of my favorite musicals, but the concept of Freeze Your Brain and the slushy
works and doesn't
work as well, because the whole point of JD is that he hurts others instead of himself.
I mean, in the song he does, as he talks to Veronica, telling her, "Oh yeah, you have this great future plan for yourself. You're gonna go to Harvard. You're gonna go to Harvard. You're gonna go to some fancy school." Well, guess what? When that doesn't happen, it's gonna suck.
Well, don't get me wrong. He drags other people down with him, but the whole point of the movie is that he
Yep.
harms other people instead of himself.
And another thing that makes so you don't sympathize with him too much, you watch in the latter half of the show, he becomes more and more and more unstable and abusive until he's banging on Veronica's door, telling her to let him in.
Veronica, open
Open the door, please, Veronica. Open
But
the door.
all this comes full circle to say that musical adaptations of movies is very, very yummy.
So what about movie adaptations of musicals?
What would you count Rocky Horror as?
Rocky Horror is,
Technically a radio show adaptation.
yes. And then it became actually,
It was originally a radio
and now
drama.
it is actually commonly done.
Oh, is that
to-
why the title has picture show in
Yep.
it?
And now it's actually very commonly done to do Rocky Horror on stage, which I want to be in, by the way, but it's a whole other tangent. But
May I give the brief history lesson?
I was just going to go into musical movies in general, because one of the most important parts of them is musical movies can either be very good or very bad. So you may ask, well, what do you mean by that? Let's go with,
You can be Moulin Rouge.
which is incredible, but that wasn't an adaptation. I'd say go with In the Heights, or In the Heights was pretty good. Actually, wait, The New West Side. The New West Side Story is very good, as it's almost just you take the musical and turn it into a movie. But then there are things like Little Shop. Changes the ending completely, because Little Shop originally has this beautiful, beautiful ending where it is tragedy. They lose. They win in the movie, because why not make them win? Shut up, Dad. I know you're listening. No, it's not. No, the movie ending is not better. And there are also stuff like Cats. Cats,
As an original musical, is not a story. It is.
a collection of characters, and you watch Cats
I finally.
for the dancing. Cats is not a good musical. There are a few songs that are good, like Memory, which we all know.
Live on radio, I just figured out what the problem and the good thing about Cats is. It is the same thing. Watching Cats and expecting a cohesive musical is the same thing as reading a mythology primary source like Ovid's Metamorphoses and expecting a consistent narrative. It is a story of many people, not all of which are good stories, all told one after another, loosely intertwined.
And it ends with it's essentially showing each character, just showing their deal, connecting them to the main character, move on. But that's part of the problem of it, because that's not what a musical is. A musical should be telling a story. A musical, you should walk away with a musical having an experience and feeling something.
I would also argue that a musical.
I think that was a truck horn.
Also,
Oh.
do we want? Can I rant about the Dear Evan Hansen musical movie?
You know what? I'll give you 5 minutes.
Okay, so let's start. So one, Ben Platt was an incredible Evan Hansen at the time. He managed to sing a song, ugly crying, on stage, sounding beautiful. He played it incredible at the time. But the problem is, that movie was made, like, years after it. Evan Hansen didn't look there were so many better Evans to have played Evan at the time. But also, it was Ben Platt's dad was the producer. The movie wouldn't have been made if Ben Platt was not Evan, because nepotism. But also, one of the other problems is, you see, Ben Platt's dad was the producer. He didn't want to. One of the most important parts of Dear Evan Hansen. Evan Hansen is not a good person. You should feel a little bit of sympathy, but he should not be painted as a hero. He should not be painted as a good person. The movie takes away two very important songs. One is called Anybody Have a Map, where it shows that Evan's mom is struggling too. Evan's mom and Connor's mom are parallels. It shows Evan and Connor are two parallel characters, just going down different, but they end up taking different turns. But they cut that out. And they also cut out Good For You, not the Olivia Rodrigo song, a song where the three characters that Evan Hansen has screwed over the most are saying, good for you, you got everything, your life is so good. What about the people that you forgot? What about the people who got you here? I hope you have fun dealing with all of this by yourself. I'm done with you.
Hope
And
the grass is greener.
The grass is green. Hope the grass is green. Hope you got what you always wanted. Hope your dreams came true. Good for you. Good for you. You. But one of the characters singing it, hey, who's that second female, the second character to join the song? Actually, no, who starts the song? Evan Hansen's mother.
Mm-hmm.
that is what helps paint Evan Hansen as a bad person. And the movie does away with that. And they open with a song, Waving Through a Window, which starts as giving you an introduction to Evan and how he's always been an outside. But they do it wrong. In the musical, he sings it at school as you watch the cast walks by him ignoring him, showing that he's waving through a window, not an actual window.
The window's a metaphor, the window's a metaphor, the window's a metaphor.
The window metaphor for life. He's stuck inside, he's stuck outside of everyone. Instead, he sings it through his bedroom window.
Because he's so dramatic.
Oh. Yep, okay, thank you.
You
I could go on a whole more tangent about it.
actually did not run the timer. I'm very proud of you.
Nice.
But, anyways.
Ooh, sorry, I just got news that my sister got, so my old high school is doing Mean Girls, and my mom just told me who my sister got cast as. Mrs. Norsbury.
Oh my god.
For those of you who aren't 100% sure, that's Tina Fey's character from the movie. Actually very relevant in the musical.
I think, let's see. What's a good thing to mention here? What's a good thing to like?
We're at 30 minutes. What do you think feels good for the second half?
Good thing to talk about for the second half. Do you just want to?
Sorry, I just remembered Stephen Sondheim and Andrew Lloyd Webber.
But you like.
So Stephen Sondheim and Andrew Lloyd Webber are two of the greatest minds behind Broadway. Andrew Lloyd Webber, I don't know a lot of his work, but I know his major work. The longest running show on Broadway that just closed, and I'm still mad about it, and it should reopen. Phantom of the Opera. A very beautiful show. I can't even describe it. It's an old show, but it's beautiful. It's combining
movies from musicals. That's another one.
It is combining classic Broadway, classic opera style with a little bit of newness, and it feels good to watch. And the story is incredible, and the vocals are incredible, and the songs are incredible, and it's just an incredible show. And they closed it after 35 years. And you know what's on the block to be the next longest running show? Lion King.
Speaking of Phantom of the Opera, though, one of my biggest flexes with singing is that I can hit almost every note in, like, the Phantom of the Opera song.
The Phantom
Keyword,
of the Opera song.
most notes.
Most.
There's a couple notes right at the end that I just can't get up to.
Oh, yeah, that's the biggest flex. Phantom of the Opera is a show that you get to hear the most beautiful, deep, baritone voiced men. And then you hear women hitting notes that I swear to God, my glasses are about to crack.
I will say, I have actually hit the notes before, I just can't do it anymore.
Sweet Jesus. Then there's also Stephen Sondheim, who's made many shows, like West Side Story, a 1960s style adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. Yes, it is. I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
I agree with you.
There's Into the Woods, a show that is incredible. Don't watch the movie. The movie of it is hot garbage, and James Corden stars in it, and that should tell you everything you need to know.
If James Corden is in your musical adaptation movie, and this is not an insult to James Corden, this is an insult to the movies that they select him for, don't watch it.
He was not terrible. The Prom was decent.
Okay. Watch one of them.
The Prom. It's on. Is it still on Netflix?
I think so.
I don't know. It's really good. There's a lot of beautiful songs they've written. Stephen Sondheim, his final show that was written as he died, is currently on Broadway.
Shoot.
It's really good. I've heard good things about it. I've heard Act 2 is not as good, but that was because apparently he had writer's block.
Oh.
He's an incredible Broadway writer. My mom is saying, apparently, one of them wrote Jesus Christ Superstar, which is
so
the only okay. There is a subsection of Broadway shows that I'm not a big fan of. They are religious shows. Book of Mormon, I don't count. Book of Mormon's a comedy.
Book of Mormon is a comedy satire taking the piss out of Mormonism.
There's Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, which tells the story of Joseph, the kid from the Old Testament, and his story. It's okay. I don't care for it that much. I don't care about them. There's Godspell. I go on a tangent about the problems with the show, because what Godspell is it's a collection of skits.
The vitriol with theater kids will say the word Godspell drives
It is a collection of skits with songs intertwined as they tell the story of the Old Testament, except the problem is, halfway through the show, it's no longer skits. You're just watching the Bible. You're just suddenly, that's John the Baptist. That's literally, you're watching a guy playing Jesus get crucified.
You got tricked into watching Bible study.
But then there's Jesus Christ Superstar.
Which is different.
Which is good. Because it's not trying to take itself seriously. No, it fully embraces the rock aspect as you watch as King Herod looks at Jesus Christ and just goes, show me a magic trick. And in Jesus Christ Superstar, wanna know who those two people were? You watch as Alice Cooper looks John Legend Jesus Christ in the eye and tells him, show me a magic trick, Jesus.
That casting choice.
Alice Cooper as King Herod was the objectively correct choice.
Immaculate. You know what? I did think of something while you were talking that I feel like we should probably mention.
Yeah?
Because it came up interspersed here and there. The relationship between the musical theater culture and community and the queer community. I feel like this needs to be addressed.
They can run hand in hand. A lot of people who watch musical theater and love it, it's stereotyped for a reason. Queer people and gay people, a lot of them love musical theater. Because the reason that I love musical theater, the reason that I love being on stage, is for a brief moment, I get to leave everything behind, and I stop being Phoenix. When I am on stage, I am not Phoenix, I am the character. That was solace for a long time for me of I stopped being me. And I still love it. It's very fun to just embody a character. You get to be goofy, and every time that someone walks up to me after the show and tells me I did good, it feels great as people are telling, as it just feels great. And queer community took solace in it. It was like the outcast society draw to it, like with vaudeville, the circus. A lot of times people who went to it was not the people who were the most popular. It was the people who found outcasts, people who found solace. Rent as a story. Hey, Joe and Maureen. Oh wait, her name's not Joe. What is her name? Joanne. There's a character, Angel. She's incredible. Oh wait, you mean the gay drag queen Angel?
Love. Yes, I would also like to acknowledge, do you mind if I
Go ahead.
pull out my secret identity of the history nerd?
Go ahead.
Secret identity.
My secret identity that...
Secret.
I'm like if Bruce Wayne just walked around the Batman costume.
My mom is cussing me out because she's starting Godspell, and I hate that show with a passion.
All right.
Sorry, Mom.
A little history lesson for those who are unawares. This isn't just about musical theater. This is about theater overall. In its early days, the medium of theater in most parts of the world, all roles, including women, would be played by men, and it was a very elitist process. It was seen as something that was for the in-crowd and not the out-crowd. As time has gone on, those of us in these outcasts, in air quotes, communities such as those in the queer communities and people of color, will seek out somewhere to safely express themselves, somewhere to sort of be open and be flamboyant and be free without getting criticism, because that's the whole point of the job, and Broadway kind of fills that role. I find it very fascinating that the art of performance and the art of theatrical storytelling transformed so much over the course of history, from something that was seen as only something for the pretentious majority that were allowed to be part of the upper crust to somewhere where anyone could perform and be themselves safely.
And it led to one of my favorite effects of theater. Theater is a close-knit community. Very close-knit. I know when you were in a cast, you know the names of every single one of your castmates. You can identify them by hearing their voice from across a room. And that is one of the most beautiful parts. There's a reason that a lot of theater companies end up acting like families, because at the end of the day, they kind of feel like it. I didn't have a lot of time for a lot of extracurriculars due to doing theater, which led to theater being most of my closest friends in high school.
When I say my stage crew kids, I mean that in my junior year, there was this large group of basically entirely queer freshmen that I knew mostly from our GSA, from our queer club, and I just became sort of a role model figure to them, and they started calling me dad. And long story short, theater is a family, sometimes in a very literal sense, where you literally call each other family members.
Yep. My theater mom, for the 4 years of my high school experience, I had her senior portrait in my backpack.
Tangentially related to theater as a family, there is a diner in New York on Broadway. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Stardust Diner.
Stardust Diner.
Yes.
It is called, so
Yes,
Fun
yes,
fact,
yes, yes, yes.
every single one of the
That's what I was going to talk
staff
about. That's what I was going to talk
Yep.
about.
are aspiring Broadway performers.
Yes, that's what I was going to talk about.
I love it.
And throughout your and what do they do throughout your meal?
They sing.
They perform.
I was there.
I went there for
me
my
too.
birthday.
Me too.
My
Wait,
13th birthday.
Can I tell a funny story
I don't
though?
remember
Once,
which birthday, but
so
I was young.
my mom has a gluten allergy, and they messed up her food. So she had to talk to our waiter about that. And the funny part is, when she called our waiter had just gotten done performing "Be Our Guest," the song from Beauty and the Beast.
She did put their service to the test.
Oh, sweet lord! And it's very fun because the waiters will all perform, and they have a special tip bucket that they give around in.
Yeah.
And any money that goes into the tip bucket is split between the staff, and they spend it specifically on classes to help further their careers.
But yes, back to the
Yeah.
queer theater thing. Side tangent. I think it was a performance for like the opening of the Tonys one year. I think it was Neil Patrick Harris.
Yup.
The theater isn't just for the gays, or Broadway's not just for gays.
And also, Neil Patrick Harris' performance, I will love till the end of die. Because, fun fact, they had like 1 or 2 rehearsals. Because most of the performances are like a quick thing with like a few people singing and backup dancers. Neil Patrick Harris said, screw that. Yes, Neil Patrick Harris from How I Met Your Mother, Barney Stinson. Incredible Broadway actor, incredible singer, incredible dancer, in a very good show called Assassins that I want to watch with you, Jordyn.
Yes.
Said, screw that, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to have every single person who's currently on Broadway in it. Every single show. So fun fact about it, one of some names you'll know that were in it, Lucas from Stranger Things was in it, Mike Tyson, and what's her name? Sadie Sink.
Oh my god.
She was in Annie.
Really?
Yep.
My high school's doing Annie. I'm gonna go home for it next weekend. Don't say it.
I don't care for Annie.
Uh-huh.
Annie is a show that has not aged the best. That's part of the problem with Broadway. A lot of the classic shows don't age that well.
That's the problem, because as much as Broadway... Okay, not Broadway. Theater in general. We'll get to the problems with, like, Broadway culture itself in a second. As much as theater in general is a very, like, safe space and very, like... is a place where people can find their voice no matter who they are, some topics and stories of old shows are not...
But then there's those that are incredible. Like, Music Man is a very old show.
Yes.
Which is about the fight for civil rights for black people. They have a whole song sung by a black actor called Let Them Hear You.
There's one of our exceptions.
Earth-shattering show. That song makes me want to cry. But there's a more recent show called Big River, which is the story of Tom Sawyer, which is it's still a more recent show, but it hasn't aged well, because one of the problems with that show is, much like the original book, they're a little fast and loose with a certain word.
Oh boy.
But the music is very pretty. They have some very, very pretty songs from that show.
Could I ask something so loosely tangentially related?
Yes.
How do you feel about Miss Saigon?
Oh my god, that show destroys me. Specifically, Why God?
Let's talk about Miss Saigon for a second.
Can I talk about Why God specifically? Because a friend of mine from my theater troupe back in high school sang that song for our cabaret, which it shattered me. Miss Saigon is a story about a young woman in the Vietnam War. Why God is not sung by her. It is sung by a male U.S. soldier. That woman was a prostitute. He spent a single night with her. And that entire song is him asking, sweet Jesus, why, God, did you make me fall in love with this woman? Why? One of the lines is, I like my memories as they were. Now I'll leave, remembering her, just her. It is earth-shattering. It destroys me. It rips me to pieces. It brings my heart out and then tears it to pieces in front of me.
Yeah.
The entire show does. And one of the coolest parts of that, Victoria, do you want to know what the big finale of that show is? They bring a helicopter inside the theater. Not a prop, a helicopter. Broadway magic is insane. One thing I will talk about forever, which is something I learned from my director. So Beauty and the Beast. They have a lot of makeup for the Beast on Broadway. He looks not human.
I feel like
this thing.
Yeah, you said this.
But also, they can't let him take forever to take it off on stage.
That's not a quick
It's
change.
done in like a minute. We don't know how they did it. Jordyn, I've told you why. Why don't we know?
Because they have an agreement not to talk about it. A little like, is it an NDA or is it?
It's an NDA.
Okay, cool.
But who's the NDA with? Oh,
NASA.
the United States National Aerospace whatever.
National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
Yes, NASA. A Broadway has a deal with NASA to go, we're not going to tell people how we do this. It's actually...
I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of things in, like, normal life that come from NASA, such as the water gun.
But also, like, certain
But
things,
like when you have an NDA with NASA.
about how to do a quick change on stage. But, like, Broadway, they don't tell you how to do quick changes. Like, in a show called Six that I love, where all the queens are in very, like, modern-style dresses, but they're reminiscent of Victorian style, so they're very, like, rigid and poof out. During one of the songs, you watch as, quite literally, one of the queens is standing there in this, like, plastic and resin dress. And she just stands there, and then very suddenly, all the queens surround her. Poof, the dress is gone, she's in a bodysuit. They don't tell you how to do it.
Honestly, the costume design in that show is
Yes.
exquisite.
Another part I love about Six is if you ever see the show Six and you see the queen's dresses, that actress and their understudy are the only people to wear a dress that looks exactly like that.
That's part of the reason I love
Every
costume
time a new
design.
actress steps into the shoes of one of the queens of Six, they know the colors, but they get their own dress. A dress that no other actress has ever worn in that style.
I mean, from what I've seen, the dresses are relatively form-fitting. So if you're gonna have to remake the dress for someone, might as well make it unique to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible and I love it. Wait, what did we talk about before Miss Saigon?
We were talking about diversity and the good parts
Oh.
and the bad parts.
So let's get into some of the bad parts. One that I personally fall into. Broadway has one thing that they call the Broadway actor body, which is and leading men. Broadway and leading men is a very toxic thing they're trying to get rid of. For a long time, it was a thing in Broadway. The leading man has to be hot, and the Broadway acting men are all buff, and I'll describe it as this: look good without a shirt on. They would be the guys you'd expect to see that you'd expect to see ripped, could lift someone into the air, which is a very toxic thing on Broadway because it meant a lot of actors who weren't in that shape weren't able to get leading roles. My director from Broadway tells a story where he didn't get the leading role in his musical because it boiled down to his director not saying it, but he knew that's why, essentially hitting him with "you're not attractive enough," which is one of the toxic parts of Broadway. There's also a lot of toxic parts of Broadway where, because of the way it was with a lot of Broadway shows, there aren't a lot of shows with traditionally people of color as roles.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's being fixed with things like In the Heights.
Fixed is all.
It's being helped mended. Also,
No, mending or fixing isn't quite the word I would use for a situation like that.
what would you call
I would call it more shifting.
correcting?
No, because
It's a bad attitude.
as much as it's a problem, it doesn't feel like something that you would call something to fix.
It's a hard topic to get into, but now they're
Very.
starting to ignore that more, where you'll see a lot of Broadway shows with
Opening up.
like the Witch in the revival of Into the Woods. She was a person of color. You'll see only a few years ago, the first black actress to ever play the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba, in Wicked.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah, my sister saw her. It was cool. I'm a little jealous. I could have gone. I didn't go, though. There's a lot of things like that where they're Jordan Fisher playing Evan Hansen. Hadestown as well, where Hadestown is a story where it's sort of like inspired by like it's Greek myths told in like a setting where it's Industrial Revolution era things, where Persephone, she's played by a black actress. Hermes, his original leading member was a black man, incredible, Andre de Shields, most beautiful baritone voice
Oh my
I will ever hear.
God.
I could listen to. He's got that Morgan Freeman style voice with that nice resonance that you kind of want to talk you to sleep. Hades, a character I would love to play, same for Hermes. A black man hits the most ungodly low notes I will ever hear in my life. And then Orpheus hits the most ungodly high notes I'll ever hear in my life. And fun fact, I saw it, and the guy who played Orpheus for me also played Austin from The Backyardigans on Nick Jr.
Wait, what?
Yes. My mom can testify. She was there.
Semi-related statement. It was just a statement. Speaking of Hadestown, you remember what we said at the Devil's Game the other day?
We said that at the Devil's Game. We said that logically.
I said, welcome to Devil's Territory.
We said, welcome to Devil's Territory, also known as Hell. And I said, like Devil Town, like Cave Town. And then, without missing a beat, she countered with Hadestown.
Well, on the road to Hell, there was a railroad track.
Stop getting.
But yeah, Hadestown also, while telling Greek myths, tells the story of the oppressed, as of the oppressed living under the strong, as people in the underworld have to sing a chant. Low, low, keep your head low. Ooh, you gotta keep your head low if you wanna keep your head.
I would like to say something about Hadestown
Yeah.
here. That it is also one of my favorite adaptations of the Hades and Persephone myth, because
While he is a good husband,
very, very often Hades and Persephone gets only two main retellings. There is one where Hades is very evil and kidnapped the beautiful Persephone from her mother Demeter, and he's awful and also a Satan allegory. And there is one where they were always in love and that she ran away willingly, and neither of these can really be construed as the true story, because there is no such thing as the true story. Mythology is a living thing, but this is one of my favorite adaptations.
because he loves her, and she does love him.
Because it's not a loveless marriage, it's a strained marriage.
Because he has to let her go back to bring spring, except he doesn't want to. He loves her. He doesn't want to let her go, but she feels trapped in the underworld. So
Or we can have the story
Orpheus sings his song, singing to bring spring back, because they haven't seen spring in so long. But Hades doesn't want to let his wife go, and as he lets Orpheus and Eurydice try, as he says, he tells her, it's time for spring to come. We can try again next year. Broadway will tell stories that will bring you to tears. Broadway once almost brought me to tears with a show that I love called Come From Away. Come From Away is a story about a day not many people talk about. September 12th, 2001. Because what happened was, as the airspace of the United States was closed, all the planes landed in one spot. An airport in Canada, Newfoundland, Canada, in bumfuck nowhere, called Gander.
There's our F word for the episode.
But you watch as all these people tell these beautiful stories about how this man from England and this woman from Texas fell in love. These people fell in love with this town. And at the end of the show, they see her, one of the biggest lines is, "You are here at the start of the moment on the edge of the world."
It's a beautiful show. It's
beautiful, especially because it's a one act.
exactly.
There is no intermission, which a lot of shows have, which is a 10-minute break halfway through. No. It's always happening for one continuous show. And also factor in, there's like 10 actors constantly switching characters, switching accents, as you watch one guy go from like a deep African accent to New Yorker to Newfoundland, Canada, which is a mix of like North American French and Scottish.
Scottish?
Scottish.
Are you sure it's Scottish?
Yes.
Can I acknowledge real quick that we opened this episode with the fake out that we would be doing our mythology episode,
then we ended up talking
managed to
about
full
mythology
circle to
anyway.
Hadestown?
I mean, to be fair, hey Jorts, what's one of your top 5 musicals?
I mean,
Hadestown.
Hadestown.
What's
yeah.
what's arguably like one of my favorite musicals ever? Hadestown.
I don't watch musicals.
Hadestown also has very beautiful moments, like as Orpheus sings a song, "Wait for me, I'm coming," to Eurydice. You watch as a bunch of mine stage lights that are on the stage, the ensemble picks them up and starts swinging them. So you watch as the lights from them start to swing over the audience and cascade the room beautifully.
And the choreography is designed perfectly, so they just barely go under it. So you keep thinking they're going to get bonked by the light, but they don't.
And there's just this iconic moment as at the end of the song, he's holding a single rose that he made when he sang his song for Eurydice, as he's holding it out to the audience, and then the light goes dark.
It's a beautiful, fantastic
But also,
moment.
how does the show end? This is very important.
Oh, can you talk about the ending? I don't want to.
We all know the story. For those of you who don't know, Orpheus is in love with Eurydice. He's a son of a muse, one of the Greek gods of poetry,
You
I
might
believe.
want to hurry it up.
His lover died, and he sang a song that was literally so beautiful that he was able to walk to hell, show up at the god of death's front door and go, give her back. And eventually he managed to convince him, but not fully. Because his wife asked, because to quote the show, his wife said, you'll let them go. He said, I'll let them try. Because there's a stipulation. Orpheus has to walk, because he ignored Eurydice. That's why she was gone, because he was ignoring her, suffocating his music. Orpheus had to walk back, all the way from the underworld, back to his home, with Eurydice following him.
The story I heard was he had to leave the underworld.
He has to walk out of the underworld,
Yes.
all the way back to his home. The underworld is not a fun place to leave.
Yeah, and it's can you
And
hurry
he
up?
had, except for one thing, he can't turn around. He can't check that she's still with him. And as he walks out, as he is one step away from leaving the underworld, as he steps out, he goes to check if Eurydice is behind him. She's one step away. And he doesn't get to keep her. And Hermes talks about, this is the story of a boy. Orpheus. This is not a storybook closing. This is the opening. As it is a secular cycle. Oh, that show is beautiful.
That is one of the big things. That show has replayability. It integrates the ending into the beginning. It is a full cycle. Every ending of the show is the beginning of the next one.
And I want to go see it because now Jordan Fisher is starring in it because the original Orpheus just left. And I love Jordan Fisher.
I keep getting ads for Hadestown, actually.
It's so good.
For good reason.
I want to drag you there. But that's a whole other topic. And
That is a whole other topic.
of can I drag my friends to go see musicals with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you're dragging me to musicals. I'm dragging people to hockey games.
It was fun. It was very fun.
In all honesty, it was a little boring.
We have
up until the last,
we have like
5
3 minutes. What do we wrap up with?
I didn't get to talk about the midnight showings of Rocky Horror.
Go ahead.
So very long story, very short. The Rocky Horror Picture Show was a movie in the 70s that became very big in alternative and queer culture around, I know, it's gonna be quick, that's why I'm talking fast, don't show me the clock. That became very big in alt and queer culture around the 80s, and it became traditional once it, stopped running in the big theaters for independent theaters to run it every night or once a week or a couple nights a week at midnight. And these midnight showings became such a big deal in these smaller communities and cities that people would show up every single week, every single night. At first just to watch, and then people got to know the movie so well that they would start playing along up on stage, that people would bring props that you were expected to participate at certain parts.
But first, a toast.
And then everyone throws toast. You need to bring toast and a bag of rice with you.
Damn it, Janet, you whore.
Everyone. There are people who will dress up and go up and perform it up on stage.
You watch as Dr. Frankenfurter, the transsexual transvestite from Transylvania, puts on a rubber glove, and you hear as the entire audience snaps a rubber glove to their wrist. An entire movie theater's worth of full of people.
You need to bring, a piece of toast, a bag of rice, a rubber glove. Is it a sock, too?
I don't know, but you also have to know the call-outs.
You also do have to know the call-outs.
And if you see it on stage, the entire show is a narration by a researcher from a university, and he's narrating, and as the audience says, "Damn it, Janet, you whore." Well, that wasn't very nice, was it?
Which is very funny.
Because he
Anyways,
will participate.
all this is to say is that my mom saw the weekly midnight showings when she was maybe a little older than us.
I'm jealous.
I know.
I've never seen a proper Rocky Horror.
She also says she'll never watch it with me because she finds sexual content with me in the room very uncomfortable.
Yeah, fair.
Real quick, before we end, I just remembered the one musical that I've watched that I actually remember. You're in Town. I watched it here. I watched this school's production of it.
Let's go Urinetown.
Oh.
We're not gonna get into it, but Urinetown is a show where there's a water shortage, so people have to pay to pee. Thank you. This has been Hyperfixation of the Week.
Oh my god, what an ending.
Yeah, there's a song called Privilege to Pee. Thanks.
Unironically, the songs are really good.
This is Hyperfixation of the Week. We hope you learned something. If you want to ask us, come up and ask us. How do we find you, Jordan?
I am the short one with short purple hair that you won't see because I have so many final projects coming up, I probably shouldn't leave my room or the studio ever.
I'm the tall one with purple hair, and I'm Phoenix. You can probably find me. It shouldn't be that hard.
You'll hear me before you see me. However, there's a new way to find me. My Carhartt jacket.
Your Carhartt jacket, now that it's finally cold enough for you to wear it all the time.
That or the hockey jacket.
Look for would you describe it as like a burnt umber?
A burnt umber. A brown Carhartt jacket.
Brown Carhartt jacket.
Specifically with the Princeton logo
On
on
a
it.
relatively short person, probably wearing sweatpants or stretch pants.
And purple Crocs.
And purple Crocs.
My purple.
Your purple.
We're all purple
we're
somehow.
all a little purple here. Anyways, thank you very much for listening. This has been Hyperfixation of the Week. I'm going to go listen to probably Hadestown while I finish up my final It's Due in less than an hour. Good gods.